My name is Katy Hamilton and I'm going to be leading 3 discussions as part of the Ludlow English Song Weekend, looking at music in Ireland, music involving Irish performers, Irish academics, and how we describe, discuss, define what it is to be Irish as a performer, as a scholar, and as a composer. It's been very interesting in researching the various composers and performers that we're going to be hearing at the festival this year, looking at what it is that we actually define as being Irish, because the context of trying to draw a box around that, both geographically speaking in terms of national borderlines, and obviously Irish borderlines are much in the news at the moment as well as broader borderlines across Europe. But whether or not it's really possible to pull out firm lines of demarcation between what sounds Irish, what has a strong Irish root, and what becomes more generally part of a discussion around British, whether sometimes we tend to blur that with English when we don't really mean English, we're actually talking more about Britain more generally. And it will be fascinating to see how far it's possible to actually delineate something that is specifically Irish, or whether really what we're talking about is a more cosmopolitan approach to music making. I'm working at the moment actually in trying to put together my family tree, which is something that I think is becoming increasingly popular as this information is becoming more available. And the Hamilton family name does have Irish connections, so I'm trying to track down some Irish parish records to see whether or not it's possible to get a bit further back with the family tree. But as far as I'm aware, no relatives that I'm in touch with anyway in Ireland, but it will be exciting to see whether or not there are links that I can track down for the 18th and 19th centuries. It's a very friendly crowd at Ludlow, so although we had some not exactly controversial discussions, but I think we did sort of plumb some political depths last year with the conversations we were having around Englishness and Britishness. Everybody's terribly friendly, so it's a very nice space to be able to explore questions which really are at the front of the political agenda and on the front page of the news at the moment, in a way that relates it to repertoire that's familiar, that's perhaps also less familiar, and working with younger composers and younger performers, and hopefully being able to have those conversations without it actually getting to the points of food fights over lunch. Well, I confess I'm very excited that Rebecca Clark is going to feature in this year's programme, and also Howard Ferguson. Rebecca Clark because I just think she's a very, very wonderful and somewhat underrated composer, not just of viola music, but there are some fantastic songs as well, which I think we're going to hear some of this year. Howard Ferguson is somebody who's very close to my heart because I've done an amount of research on the concert series that was given during the Second World War at the National Gallery, and Ferguson was Myra Hess's right-hand man for that. And although he was born in Belfast and did an amount of work there, he did end up spending the majority of his life living in London and then in Cambridge, but several of his earlier compositions do refer to Irish music and Irish poetry, and it'll be lovely to have the chance to hear them because they're not so often performed. Well, I feel as if I'm a little bit of an interloper on this festival because by trade, as it were, I'm actually a Brahms scholar, so completely different country altogether. But it's been wonderful that in the last couple of years, since I've become a freelance researcher and broadcaster and presenter and writer, I've had the opportunity to work with lots of different festivals and organisations and educational institutions, and it's been a real education for me to get to know about all kinds of different sorts of music that I wouldn't otherwise have the chance and the time to research in detail. So I was delighted when Ian contacted me last year to ask me to be involved in Ludlow, and it's lovely to be back again because I certainly feel as if I'm going to learn as much as the audience, I hope, will as a result of our discussions. Oh, Ludlow is a very, very beautiful small town. We were very lucky with the weather last year, so fingers crossed we'll also have some sunshine this April. Beautiful old buildings, the castle is a real delight to visit, and it's terribly friendly as well, and also very easy to get around. So getting from your next concert to lunch and back again is a quick turnaround, which is great because it's a packed programme, so it'll keep you busy all weekend.